I almost feel like I'm one of those old people on like Rosalind Capital TV commercials that's like, buy gold and silver, protects against the fiat and inflation. But this video, I really want to discuss silver. I talk my family, I talk my friends into it. I said, listen, when inflation hits, go take a look at what happened in the early 1980s with the Volcker rates. Look at what happened with the price of silver. And the ratio between the price of gold to silver is so favorable towards silver right now, rising at a really much higher rate than gold if inflation actually hits. And I've been drilling this point for months and months. About 8-9 months ago, I made a video. I'm going to link it in the description, and it was called all the various ways that silver is used in the real world today, because I wanted to show the utility of silver, which is actually really impressive, and a lot of people didn't know. It is used in so many things, so many electronics. The actual physical properties of the metal silver is fascinating. So definitely give that video a view. I worked so hard on that video, I feel like it didn't get the amount of views it deserves. And also, if you're curious, yes, this shirt, it's 100% silver. It is made out of silver bullion, and it actually weighs about 115 pounds, which is just about a couple of pounds shy of how much I actually weigh. But I digress. So what I want to talk about is when I initially invested in silver, I did it in a way that was not very educated as a silver investor, because as I got to learn about the silver stacking community, as I realized that buying silver on paper doesn't really raise the price, it doesn't really affect the price at all, unlike actual investment demand, which is created by real people purchasing real silver metals. And that could be in the form of coins, rounds, silver bars, silver bullion. And I'm going to cover all that in a different video, and I'll show you exactly what I'm purchasing. Now, before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the video, I want to discuss what paper silver actually is, because it's just an asset that basically follows and reflects the price of silver. So ETFs, futures, they're not silver itself. You're not actually investing in silver because it's not backed by real metal. It's the same problem that occurs in the crypto space, where some people, they actually buy Bitcoin, they store it in cold storage, whereas other people, they just buy it on like Robinhood and stuff, and it's not really their crypto, it's just reflecting crypto, but they don't actually own the coins. And it's similar in this sense as well, but with silver, again, you can buy all the ETFs in the world. It's never going to move the price as much as if you are actually creating demand by investing in actual silver, because then you're affecting supply and you're affecting demand. And so again, I'm going to cover all this in a different video. I'm going to dive in right now. I'm going to show you a bit of what happens when inflation really spins out of control historically, what has happened to silver. I'm going to jump into the community of silver, because again, I feel like this year might be the year of the silver stackers. I believe that there might be a bit of a silver squeeze occurring, and I would not be surprised if we see the price of silver go above 30, above 35 this year, especially if the Fed starts enacting some of the policies that they're planning to do. It could get really dicey. There is a lot of chaos right now. There's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of smart money that is parked outside of stocks right now. They are abandoning the growth sector. They're not sure what's going to happen because, again, the stock market gets slammed when rates go up. And so some of the smart money, they don't want it just sitting around. They got to show their investors, if it's hedge funds, if it's big institutions, they got to show their clients that they're actually making money. So a smart play would be dumping it into a lot of the precious metals, with silver being the one that looks very attractive as far as the percentage return you could get on this year. Now remember, I'm going to dive into the video, but I am by no means a financial expert, a crypto expert. I'm by no means a precious metal expert. This is just detailing my own journey. I'm trying to learn alongside with you. So if you enjoy this video, please give it a like, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 20K by the end of this year. And so without further ado, let's dive in. So not that it matters much, but I always like to look at a community of any investment. And I know this more so is attributable to maybe crypto or some popular stock or short squeeze plays, but still, I do like to see the engagement of a community. It tells me a couple of things. It tells me, first of all, how much interest there is in it, how many passionate investors there are, and also if there's something like a bunch of silver fanatics joining together and buying up a bunch of silver, if they could make make a movement like that, do they have the foundation for it? Do they have a strong base? And when it comes to silver, it does, and I would argue more so than any other metal. So take a look here. We have a Reddit group, Silverbugs, has 95,000 active members. Then if you take a look at the Silver Squeeze, over here we just have a little bit over 10,000 members. And if we take a look at Wall Street Silver, so I'll click on Wall Street Silver here, you'll see something very impressive. There's 177,000, they call themselves silverbacks, in this community. This is quite a large community. To give you an example by comparison, if we take a look at gold, actually the only gold Reddit group that is relevant, that exists, is Reddit/gold. And if you take a look here, they only have 59.1 thousand members. Now, before you go ahead and say, Eddie, what are you talking about? Gold is so much more popular, has so many more investments. Absolutely, you're correct. Actually, it is estimated that the market cap of gold is around 11.527 trillion. Now, the exact amount, this isn't like a stock. It is actually hard to predict the exact amount, but this is the estimate, 11.527 trillion market cap. If we take a look at silver, it sits at only 1.294 trillion. So this means that silver is actually less than like 1/10 of the market cap of gold. And if you look at the ratio between silver and gold, it's actually quite interesting because during other points in history, when there was inflation fears, and inflation was a huge issue, and we'll cover it in a second, the early 80s, you will see that the ratio between silver and gold was not less than 1/10. It was actually much closer. And also, I want to point this out. So I have 3 investments in silver. So if you take a look here, SLV is something I'm invested in. That is iShares Silver Trust. Now remember, this is paper silver. This isn't actual silver. And to be honest, if I did more research and I was much more into silver and I understood spot and premiums like I do today, I would have most likely went ahead and purchased silver bullion, silver coins, and stored it that way. But since this is the least headache is to just go ahead and pump money into an ETF, this is what I chose, SLV. And SLV among the ETFs considered the safest. It says here that the assets of the iShares Silver Trust consist primarily of silver held by JP Morgan Chase, the custodian institution on behalf of the fund. The fund may hold a very limited amount of cash in special situations. The iShares Silver Trust is passively managed as it does not buy or sell silver to take advantage of market price swings. However, SLV sells silver from time to time to cover its operating expenses. And SLV does have physical silver. Now, how much is questionable. According to them, it's a lot. The silver is held in New York and London, but who really knows what the case is? And this is why you always want to actually own the underlying asset, which in that case is the actual physical silver. Now, I'm also invested in First Majestic Silver Corp. As you can see here, jumped over 12.5% today, so 12.71%. But if you take a look at the 6-month chart, it's not as pretty. It's all over the place. And if you look at the year, this is not impressive at all. It has sank quite a bit, and I'm really hoping that we one day see closer to 20, because that is where I was looking to actually take some profits. And if you're curious about what it is, First Majestic Silver Corp is a Canadian silver mining company that operates in Mexico and the United States. It has 4 producing mines under its control. And so, not to make it too boring, you can read about the rest of it later. It's called First Majestic Silver Corp. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker symbol AG. And then I also own Aberdeen Standard Physical Silver Shares ETF, and that is ticker symbol SIVR. And over here you can see this is also up over 3%. If we take a look at the 6-month chart and the 1-year chart, not very impressive. But again, I'm hoping that finally inflation kicks in, the price of silver wakes up, maybe there's even a run on silver or people go and the demand for silver increases to the extent that people actually band together. Remember, these groups are large, the following is large. And so if they say, listen, on this date, we all go and scoop up and buy all the physical silver we can, that could really drive up the demand and supply situation in the favor of it being a really positive catalyst for the price of silver. And now I want to point this out. Now over here in the 1980s, like early 1980s, there was a situation with the United States, and I will get into it in another video, but inflation was out of control, and so there was something called the Volcker rate, where the Federal Reserve Board, led by Volcker, raised the federal funds rate, which had averaged 11.2% in 1979, to a peak 20% in June of 1981. The prime rate rose to 21.5% in 1981 as well, which helped lead to the 1980-1982 recession, in which the national employment rate rose to over 10%. Now you might think, why the heck would Volcker do it? He sounds like the economic devil. Actually, he in all likelihood helped out the situation, because even though it created chaos, a recession, and a lot of unemployment, you can see that inflation actually went down and became under control. And people are arguing that today, especially with the CPI index being measured differently than way back in the day, that now with inflation being so crazy, it might even be a crazier situation, and we might have to enact even crazier rate hikes. And a lot of people, they don't believe what the Fed is saying, and they think that they are just softening the blow for what's actually about to come. Insane rate hikes, insane inflation fears, the collapse of a lot of the growth stocks, the stock market, smart money pulling out and parking its money in stuff like silver. Remember, crypto also, like Bitcoin, has a fixed supply, all that jazz, right? You print all the money in the world, it's only going to help assets that have a fixed supply. However, as we can see, crypto has not reacted in the way we wanted it to. Right now, it's pretty much following the stock market, whereas silver has recently split off. Like you can see the past couple of days, it's actually been running, even though the stock market has been tanking. And so hopefully, maybe the price of silver can go on a run like this. Now, I'm not saying it could go to all-time highs, but I do think that the price of silver can reach above 30 this year, and that would be awesome. That would put me at a nice profit. And then the last thing I want to point out is Google Trends. I always like to see whether something is really brewing. Like maybe people are searching for silver a lot because they want to invest in it, or maybe some of these groups, they're planning for a little bit of a squeeze action, right? A little price squeeze by buying up and increasing the actual physical demand for silver. However, that doesn't seem to be the case in the past 90 days. Now, if we take a look at the past 12 months, something interesting was happening here. And this is likely due to a lot of those Reddit groups. I remember there were dates where they were planning to go and scoop up a lot of silver and drive the demand of silver through the roof, hoping that we would see a lot of price spikes. I'm not sure if it was on this date. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do plan to cover a lot more on silver, and hopefully, we do see the price start going up and people start paying attention to this asset, which I think is neglected in the precious metals space. Your attention span is much better than mine, because I don't know if I would have made it to this point in the video, but I appreciate that you did. Please give the video a like, please give it a subscribe. And also, if you disagree with something I said, if I should add something to the thesis I was talking about, and I do plan on making a video on the suppression of the price and the manipulation of the price that's potentially occurring with silver. If you have some input in that, if you want to send me a resource, please mention it in the comments. Let's continue to grow together. Let's continue to stack together, and let's continue to grow our portfolios, grow our happiness, and grow our knowledge of the markets. I will see you guys in the next video.